There are matches that are won before they are even played, not because of the result, but because of the tension they begin to generate. And the next clash between Argentina and Austria in the World Cup has exactly that. A world champion arriving with confidence, a European opponent that does not want to feel inferior, and at the center of it all, Lionel Messi once again as the name that forces any coach to think of a special plan. After Argentina's victory over Algeria, the world's attention turned back to Lionel Scaloni's team. But this time, one of the most interesting reactions came from Austria. Ralf Rangnick, head coach of the Austrian national team, would have spoken with great respect about his team's next challenge and left one very clear idea. Facing Argentina next Monday will be one of the most difficult tests of this group stage. Welcome to Football Radar. Today we are going to talk about the words of Austria's head coach, his praise for the Argentine national team, and, of course, what he said about Lionel Messi after his great performance against Algeria. Austria comes into this match knowing that it is not facing just any opponent. It is facing the world champion. It is facing a national team that has learned to compete under pressure, that has a very clear identity, and that, even when it does not dominate the entire match, always seems to find a way to hurt you. For Rangnick, that is one of the great challenges. Argentina does not need to control every minute to be dangerous. It only needs order, patience, and players capable of deciding things at the right moment. The Austrian coach would have highlighted that Argentina is a complete national team. It is not only about Messi, even though Messi is inevitably at the center of many conversations. Argentina has intensity, experience, know-how, character, and a structure that has been working for years. It is a team that knows itself, that understands its moments, and that knows how to manage different scenarios within the same match. That is why Rangnick would have been very careful when analyzing the duel. Austria cannot step onto the field thinking only about defending. It also cannot give away spaces. It has to compete with personality, try to make Argentina's build-up uncomfortable, and at the same time, be prepared to suffer. Because against teams like Argentina, even when you do things well, there is always a moment when they force you to defend close to your own goal. And that is where Messi's name appears. For Austria's coach, a large part of the challenge of facing Argentina comes from Messi's presence in the starting 11. Not only because of what he can do with the ball, but because of what he generates around him. Messi changes the behavior of his teammates, and he also changes the behavior of his opponents. When he receives the ball, everyone watches. When he lifts his head, everyone gets ready. And when he finds space, the match can change all at once. Rangnick would have been very clear when speaking about him. Messi is one of the best players soccer has ever seen. A footballer who no longer needs to prove anything, but who still competes as if every match had a special value. And that is exactly what impresses the most. Not only his quality, but his longevity. Not only his history, but his present. Messi's performance against Algeria was still fresh when the Austrian coach referred to the match. And there, somewhere between respect and humor, he would have left a comment that quickly began to circulate. He hopes that this time Messi does not score a hat trick, and that if possible, he does not play as well as he did against Algeria. The phrase, said in a joking tone, says a lot, because behind the humor, there is real concern. When a coach sees Messi at that level, he knows that any plan can end up incomplete. You can study movements, prepare coverages, close passing lanes, and coordinate defensive support. But if Messi receives the ball with half a second of advantage, he can find a solution nobody imagined. That is what makes him so difficult to prepare for. Austria has a clear identity. It is a team that tries to press, run, bother opponents, and compete with intensity. Rangnick has built a national team that does not want to be passive, that does not want to limit itself to waiting for the opponent's mistakes. And that needs to feel like a protagonist through energy. But against Argentina, that style also involves risks. If you press too high and Argentina gets past the first line, Messi can appear between the lines. And if Messi appears between the lines, the problem is no longer only tactical, it is emotional. Because Messi transmits a strange feeling in opponents. Sometimes he seems far from the play, but in reality, he is waiting for the moment. Sometimes he seems not to be participating, but he is reading where the space is going to open. And when the ball reaches his feet, everything changes. Defenders drop back, midfielders hesitate, goalkeepers get ready, and Argentine teammates begin to move as if they know something can happen. Rangnick, as an experienced coach, understands that perfectly. That is why his praise does not sound exaggerated. It sounds logical. It sounds like someone who knows that facing Messi is not facing a normal player. It is facing a footballer who can condition the entire match plan without needing to touch the ball 50 times. But Austria's coach would also have insisted that his team cannot arrive with fear. Respect? Yes. A lot of respect. But not fear. Because in a World Cup, big matches are also opportunities. Austria has to see it that way, as a chance to measure itself against the champion, to show character, and to test how far it can go against one of the strongest national teams in the tournament. That balance will be key. If Austria sits back too much, Argentina can manage the match with patience. If Austria opens up too much, it can leave dangerous spaces. And if Austria loses concentration, Messi can punish. That is why, for Rangnick, the match demands almost perfect concentration. The coach would have pointed out that Argentina has many ways to attack. It can do it through possession, through a high recovery, from a set piece, or through a quick transition. But with Messi on the field, there is an extra resource, the play that is not in the script. That unexpected pass, that shot from an uncomfortable area, that pause that breaks the opponent's rhythm, that decision that changes the match even if it looks simple. That is the difference Messi still offers, and that is why the Austrian coach's comment also works as recognition of Argentina's current moment. He is not talking about a national team that depends only on one individual. He is talking about a strong team that, on top of that, has one of the best footballers in history. That combination is what makes the challenge so complicated. Austria knows it will need order, discipline, and courage. It will need to close spaces, avoid losing the ball in sensitive areas, and take advantage of the moments when Argentina allows it to break out. It will also need efficiency, because against these kinds of opponents, there are not always many chances. And when they appear, you have to take them. But even with all that, Rangnick understands that there will be an inevitable question. How do you stop Messi? The answer probably will not be to stop him completely. Almost nobody manages to do that. The answer will be to reduce his influence, force him to receive far from the box, surround him quickly, not give him time to turn, and prevent him from connecting with the players attacking the spaces. But saying it is much easier than doing it, because Messi has spent years facing plans designed exclusively to stop him. He has seen man-marking, compact lines, aggressive pressing, low blocks, and all kinds of tactical solutions. And even so, many times he still finds the way. That is why Rangnick would have spoken about him with so much admiration. Because for a coach, Messi represents the kind of problem that cannot be solved only with tactics. It also requires concentration, communication, effort, and a little bit of luck. Next Monday, Austria will have an enormous test. Not only because Argentina will be in front of it, but because it will be facing a version of Argentina that arrives motivated, confident, and with Messi in a brilliant moment. After what happened against Algeria, the message to the rest of the group was clear. The champion is still here, and the Austrian coach knows it. That is why his words were respectful, but also competitive. He praised Argentina, recognized Messi's greatness, and understood the difficulty of the match. But at the same time, he made it clear that Austria will not just show up. It will go to compete. It will go to try to make Argentina uncomfortable. It will go to look for its opportunity. That is the beauty of the World Cup. Even when a team faces a powerhouse, there is always the possibility of riding a special night. But to achieve it, Austria will have to play an almost perfect match. And as its coach joked, it will also need Messi not to have another one of those nights when he seems impossible to stop. Because if Messi plays again, like he did against Algeria, if he finds spaces again, if he appears near the box again, and if he once again has that precision that makes him different, the challenge for Austria will be even greater. Argentina arrives with confidence, Austria arrives with ambition, and the world gets ready to watch another match with Messi as the central protagonist. For Rangnick, it will be an extremely difficult test. For Austria, an enormous opportunity. And for soccer fans, another chapter in that story Messi keeps writing every time he puts on the Argentina shirt.